The creation of the Federal Reserve System. The Panic of 1907 left the U.S. in financial disarray. In response, the Aldrich-Vreeland Act was passed in 1908. This act created the National Monetary Commission and made it possible to issue emergency currency. The long-term solution to this problem was the Federal Reserve System. Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act in 1913, and it created 12 regional banks governed by the Federal Reserve Board. World War I tested the abilities of the Federal Reserve System. America needed to issue emergency currency to finance the war and help run the banks at home smoothly. The Great Depression showed that the Federal Reserve System had many flaws. At this time, 25% of the nation was unemployed. The Federal Reserve System failed to help the struggling banks throughout the nation. The result was inflation and incorrect money supply. Congress passed the Banking Act in 1933 to help the nation recover. This act didn't allow the commercial banks to invest and lose money and created the FDIC. The abilities of the Federal Reserve System. The Federal Reserve System conducts the nation's monetary policy. It influences the economy to help increase employment and create stable prices. The Federal Reserve works to help improve the lives of individuals and create the best financial situations possible. The Federal Reserve maintains the stability of the financial system and contains systematic risks that may arise in financial markets. It also provides certain financial services to the U.S. government, U.S. financial institutions, and foreign official institutions. It also plays a major role in operating and overseeing the nation's payment systems. The effectiveness of the Federal Reserve System was again tested during the attacks on September 11. The Federal Reserve lowered interest rates to help provide stability to the U.S. economy. This demonstrated the effectiveness of the Federal Reserve System in emergencies. The Federal Reserve System is made up of the Board of Governors. This Board of Governors controls the 12 regional banks. These regional banks are then divided up into the commercial banks that we see around us every day. The American people visit these commercial banks. Therefore, the Federal Reserve System has a direct impact on the people. Here is a video that further explains how the Federal Reserve System works.
The United States needs money. Instead of issuing their own United States notes backed by their own credit, they issue treasury bonds. They then sell these bonds to the Federal Reserve, which buys them with money they created out of thin air. The money that the Fed created then goes to the U.S. The U.S. then pays interest on the money that the Fed lent to the Treasury. So to clarify, the Fed creates money from nothing, loans that money to the U.S., and then charges interest on that money. What this means is that there is never and will never be enough money in circulation or in existence to pay back that debt. We as a country, as well as private citizens, are forever enslaved by debt with no way of ever paying it off. Now, when the Federal Reserve buys bonds on Wall Street, the major financial firms that have been selected as dealers deposit the proceeds at their own banks. Fed rules require banks to keep 10% of their deposits in reserves, but the bank is free to issue loans equal to the remaining 90%. Let's say the Federal Reserve buys a $1,000 bond. After putting away 10% into their reserves, they are then able to loan out 90%, or $900. Since the original $1,000 is still on deposit, the $900 in loan proceeds is more new money, money created out of nothing. A total of $1,900 of new money is now available in the economy.